Good evening, everyone, or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Michael64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So yeah, Billy's here. We're not going to be going out that much, maybe a few walks, but things are really heating up. I see we've got 44 people already. I'm a little early, but I saw there was a few people waiting. So I thought it would be better just to start. Try to make it a long one tonight. Let's see who's here. Mr. B. Hi, Mr. B. Just reality, there's zero chance I'm buying any remaining of these insane premiums. You're welcome, Vajra. I don't mind doing the live stream. I don't know what happened yesterday when I finished the live stream. I pressed the end stream button and I tried to get off the page and it just deleted the live stream, so it wasn't recorded. It was a good live stream, though. Physical silver trading at $23 to $24 and APMX. Yeah, I bought some silver this morning here in the UK when I saw silver fall out of bed. Well, not really silver, the paper price was hard. Finally got Gold Investments. They had some silver left, but I think I got the last of their silver, actually. So I was lucky. I called him later, Oliver Temple, and he said someone else really big came in. Some old clients that haven't bought gold for years. They've come in and they're buying huge amounts of gold. So they still have plenty of gold available if people are interested. Gold Investments. I'm not sure about the silver. I tried Atkinson's. I tried Bullion by Post. They couldn't really assure me the silver. So I went to Gold Investments. Menapia Man from Dublin. Hi, Menapia. Red Troika. Alex Morgan, love your work. You're right not to hold debt. First live chat for Whitey Kentley. Live stream, sorry, I mean. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder. These prices are, this is just, how can I say, liquidation of paper positions. I don't think the people who have hoarded physical gold, be it the general people in the general public like us or very wealthy billionaire investors, that's the last thing they're doing now is getting rid of their gold or silver. Hey, Billy. Pablo says hello. Smash the like button. Hi, Lord Humongous. Nice to see you. Yeah, someone noted that the HUY was up. And I looked, and it was up like 12%. It did close off the highs, the HUI Gold Bugs Index. It finished up 7.8%. That could be a sign that things are maybe bottoming for the precious metals. Isabella from Austria. Hi, Isabella. Yeah, I spoke to my sister in Switzerland. She lives in Switzerland. Well, both my sisters and my mom, and they shut down Switzerland today. My sister and my brother-in-law, they own a hotel there, so I guess they're all on their own in the hotel. The Swiss are well prepared. They have bomb shelters. I remember when I lived in Switzerland, every house has a bomb shelter, and people keep a lot of supplies, so they should be well prepared. The Swiss, I'm not too sure about in the UK. I think the government here is dragging its feet, but we'll see. Vajra, thank you for the super chat donation. I know a lot of people freak out. Gold and silver drop in price. Gold is doing its job. Barely down at all today. Yeah, I mean, I said weeks ago to hold on for dear life because we're going to get huge swings, and that's what we're getting. The other thing to note is that gold last year closed at 15.15, around that level, and right now, as I'm speaking here, we're at 15.13. So we're virtually unchanged on the year, the price of gold versus the dollar. But if you look at the stock market right now, year to date, the Dow is down 29.26%, S&P is down 26.14%, NASDAQ 23, and the Russell 2000 is down 40. So it's completely done what it says on the tin. Yes, it has come off the highs, but it's just temporary. Yeah, Lord Humongous sees a huge housing tsunami rolling in quickly. The other thing, Lord Humongous, I'm reading right now. I read half the book. I started today, Aftermath by Jim Rickards. The other thing that's happening is the student loan. I think it's about 1.6 trillion now. When we had the subprime crisis in 08, 07, 08, subprime mortgages were only $1 trillion. And he expects a rate of default about 200 billion a year. So student loans could be a big problem for the economy as well. Buffering, is it? I'm going to close some windows. I have a lot of windows open here. Let me close some windows that I don't need. Tell me if it improves. Yeah. Is that better now? I had a lot of windows open, and I think that affects the and it could be, the other thing is everyone's at home. Everyone's on the internet, so the broadband gets probably quite busy, and that's probably going to continue. I saw a story as well. That's the next thing. The politicians, the bankers, they're going to keep trying inflating this debt bubble. And I think the debt bubble is deflating. It's not going to work, and people are going to lose confidence in the currency. Buffering. Vulture says it's buffering. Cozy Fantutumar, do you think bank runs and failures will start soon? Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I saw that. I think it's in Austria, people are going to get cash out of the banks. Interesting story. My friend that works in the city, he's a bond guy. He went into Canary Wharf today, and he went into his, not where he works, but where he banks. There's a Citibank branch in Canary Wharf. He has an account there. And he said that he went in to get some cash. And there are actually policemen with machine guns at the entrance, and they tested him for his temperature before letting him in. He was like shocked. Anyway. Yeah, I'm a bit early, full of hope, because there are a lot of people waiting, but I'm going to be here for a long time tonight. I don't mind being on for longer than usual, because we are experiencing the, in my opinion, the deflation of this everything bubble that basically has been propped up, I would say, since the late 80s, when Greenspan started his puts, when he started saving the stock market, and everyone started, the philosophy of buying on dips. I'm not saying the market can't rebound, but right now I think it's this everything. Well, the everything bubble really is since 08. The fiat bubble really is from the early 80s. So there we go. Today I could only pay with a card and not cash. Go figure. Jazz, hi Jazz. The stream is running smooth now. Yeah, I think I had too many windows. Why silver took an 11% dip? Well, it's to do with a lot of the time this morning when silver and gold were getting hit, the stock market was actually closed. It was limit down, the future before the open. So, and I think people were just panicking. There's one thing they can sell to raise funds, but many people, yeah. Look at Isabel Bozo says silver sold out from Kitco. I was able to buy some Britannias, but I called that different dealers, and only one had the Britannias. Was Gold Investments. Didn't buy that many, but yeah, and he can ship it to me. I might go and pick it up. I don't know if I should go anyway, but I trust him to keep them for me anyway if I have to wait a couple of months, because I do business with him. And he also got something for me. One of the viewers sent to him from Hong Kong, which is a nice present. Yeah, the Dow finished down just I think it was 2,997. So we didn't quite finish down 3,000. Christina Kim, thoughts on Bitcoin? I had quite a bit of Bitcoin. To be honest, I think Bitcoin could go a lot lower. It doesn't look very good. In the longer term, it's still speculative, but I would stick to precious metals right now. Yeah, Charles Nenner sees the Dow reaching 5,000. I don't think it's out of the question, but he sees the market going down, bottoming at the end of next year. In real money or gold, of course, the Dow topped in 2018. The Dow gold ratio is 22. Right now, today we closed at 1340. So yeah, the Dow gold ratio is another. I think that's really important as well. When that's close to 1, that's when we know we are near the bottom for paper assets. News for all, high news for all. Billy unfazed, yeah, he is. Yeah, Tracy T, I've got quite a bit of colloidal silver. I put it in these little bottles, spray bottles, colloidal silver. Yeah, most people they think you're crazy when you talk about colloidal silver, but I've had it for years. Yeah, gold silver ratio 116.99. Trump says US may be headed for recession. How about a Great Depression? I guess he's not going to say that. He wants to get reelected. No, that's the other thing I wanted to say about trading. Someone said, don't be fooled to play the ratio. I think trading right now is a really, it's a tricky game. It's about counterparty as well. You could put on a trade and you think you're making huge profits, and then you go to close the position and your broker is frozen the system, or they institute limits in the market and you can't do anything. I think we are close to maybe the markets being shut down. Today's reaction to what the Fed did, I mean, it feels like a week ago they cut rates, but it was just last night or yesterday afternoon in the US, they cut rates to 0. They injected 700 billion in QE, well, they will in the future, of course. And most people would have thought, well, the stock market is going to zoom up, but it didn't. We're down almost 3,000 points today. So it goes to show that I think, as I said in my video today, they're losing faith and confidence in the system. But they're going to try to throw a lot of money into it. I saw, I think, Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, talking about a $750 billion dollar package. I saw the comments on the story on Zero Hedge. People were saying, why not 100 trillion, right? That's just to say that people are not going to really, I think they're trying to rebuild, the story of the three little pigs. They've been building this financial house on straws and sticks, and that house has been blown away by the black swan, and they want to rebuild it with more straws and sticks. It's not going to work. It would work if they try to rebuild it with, we know what, a foundation, a sound foundation of gold and silver and sound money. I got my shut down the bank's door, the old lady of Threadneedle Street, Bank of England. Interesting thing about the Bank of England today, the new governor took over today. What a day to take over the governorship. I guess Mark Carney now, he's going to go into the sunset, and he's not, he doesn't have to deal with this mess. So they got a new guy, Andrew Bailey, the new governor of the Bank of England, started today, March 16th. Dave Humphreys, how can they print all this money and the result is deflation? Well, because when they print the money, when they create money, that's inflating the money supply. The thing is that it's failed to create any economic growth. Bernanke, when he started the QE and zero rates, he thought economic growth was going to pick up and grow faster than the debt was growing. But that hasn't happened. We've had the slowest growth in the last 10 years. Anytime since the post-war World War period, I think it's 2% growth, 2.2. So it's failed. And now we get this collapse. Bernanke also thought that by keeping rates low, it would inflate asset prices and create a wealth effect and grow the economy. And none of that's happened. So we got no growth. Now we've got no, the stock market is evaporating the wealth, but we still got the debt. And that's where you get the deflation. The reason why prices didn't rise as much as some might have thought is because China and the emerging markets acted as a deflationary force all these years because they had the cheap labor. And that was about globalization, of course. Low blood pressure, no. I paid 14 pounds for the silver plus the VAT. But just being able to get it was a result because none of the dealers had it. One dealer told me, Atkinson said, yeah, you can buy the silver. And I said, when am I going to get it? And the lady there said, we don't know. We haven't got any. So, and I said, so how come you're selling it to me? And I said, sorry, I'm not interested in that. Yeah, Damien, right. Austrian economists, Austrian school economists are looking right on the money. Yeah, I started looking into the Austrian School of Economics in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, it really opened my eyes. I started really looking into that as well when I bought my first gold coins in 2002. And with the internet, I was able to look into gold, the history, and I learned a lot. And the Austrians, of course, are proponents of small government, sound money, gold, and silver. Cash will be king as well in the down wave. I agree. But I think ultimately gold will be the place to be. A little bit like the, I don't know I've talked about this book before, did a live stream about this book, The Mandibles by Lionel Shriver. It feels a little bit like that crisis, The Mandibles. And in the end of the story, if you've read this book, the gold saves the day for this family. So what is The Mandibles? I highly recommend you read this book if you haven't yet. Lionel Shriver. But it says here, it is 2029. The U.S. national debt has grown so enormous that it can never be repaid. The dollar is in meltdown. A bloodless international currency war will wipe out the savings of millions of American families. Their pending inheritance turned to ash. Each member of the formerly formidable Mandible family must contend first with disappointment, then the challenge of sheer survival as they navigate a society in ruin. A frightening yet scabrously funny look at the nation's not so distant future from the pen of perhaps the most consistently perceptive and topical author of our times. So yeah, this is a good book to read about what's going on. Harry Dent thinks gold is going down. He's been saying that for many years. ICE 9, I spoke about that the other day. Jim Rickard's analogy in Road to Ruin about ICE 9. Yeah, I think we're close to it. I think with what the markets did today, even though the Fed did what they did, or the big intervention yesterday, it's not a good sign. Kay, they didn't sell to me. Atkinson's, they wanted to sell to me without having it and make me wait. So I said no. But I found the dealer that actually had its gold investments, who I work. Well, I don't work. Yeah, I work with them in a different capacity than the channel, but I have a promo code with gold investments, Monaco64. They had some silver. Oliver Temple had some Britannias. I took most of it. They've got gold as well. Plenty of gold, I think, gold investments at the moment. Gold goes down to 400. Well, I think then the Dow will be 400 as well. So actually, yeah, in relative terms, it will still be very valuable. Dennis Michael, we're already experiencing a 1949 style crash right now. It's much quicker than 1929. I think it will be just as bad. So yeah, I think it started 1929. It took from September, when the market made a top, to November, beginning of November, for the market to crash 49%. Right now, we've been crashing for about a month, and the Dow is down 31%. So yeah, we're on course for a 1929 style crash. It's not if we're going to get one, we're already getting one. Of course, people will argue me, say that I'm too alarmist, but it's a fact right now. Butch Edward says, smells the fear, it's ripe. Yeah, I'm sure there is fear out there, but I'm not trying to brag. If you've protected yourself outside the system, yes, I do have a few things that are not doing well, but it doesn't really hurt me. It's not, I still sleep soundly at night. So, and I guess when there's a lot of fear, and I'm not saying it's time to buy, but there will be a time when no one wants to get involved, and that will probably be the best time. Yeah, Jeffrey Robert Wold is awash with unpayable debt. That's the problem. When you get a stock market meltdown, everything bubble deflating, asset prices deflate, wealth deflates, but the debt doesn't deflate. That's the problem. Bank runs are happening in New York, according to Tracy T. Silver premiums at 90%. It wasn't as much when I got some silver today. I don't know where that is. Probably in the. That's right, Lord Humongous. You can't extinguish a debt with another debt. You're just passing it on. And that's why the system is flawed. With gold and silver, you can extinguish a debt. That's how you used to extinguish a debt. Someone brought you a banknote, and you extinguish that debt by giving them the coin. Will bank runs be the nail in the coffin? Probably, but I think with what they're doing around the world in terms of lockdowns, they're going to make it hard, try to make it hard for people. But yeah. I paid £14 today plus the VAT. So it's still quite a high price, but I didn't worry much about the price. I just wanted to get the coins. I think I hadn't bought silver for quite a while, for probably over 2 years. So I just thought it was overdone. So let's see where we are right now in terms of the market. Well, gold and silver have shut. The futures, they'll reopen in 45 minutes. Gold is actually shut at 15.15. And silver is just below 13. The Dow is up 186, which isn't really that much considering it fell just under 3,000. Jane Reynolds got her silver at 10.06. That's very good. Where did you get that from, Jane? Which dealer? Is that without the VAT, I guess? Mustafa paid 25 francs for a silver eagle. That's quite a bit because the Swiss franc is, well, the dollar is less than 1 Swiss. Yeah, that's quite a high price. That's like 100% premium. Pablo Pina, Comex, yeah, they can always shut it down. They can use force majeure. But if they do that, people will lose confidence in that market. So, yeah. Daily rent, local pawn shop wanted $25 per eagle. Yeah, this is exactly what happened in 2008, and I remember it really well. I was still working in the city, but I had friends who wanted to buy gold and silver, colleagues, and I was the guy who knew how to get it, and we couldn't get much. And if we could get any, it was at a huge premium. Jim Cramer. I haven't watched that guy for many years. I think my daughter liked to watch him when she was little, just because he was so comical, not because she was interested in the markets. Why didn't the circuit breakers stop when the losses hit 13 today? Well, I think because they got different rules and times, and it just keeps changing. But I saw an article saying that people are saying now that these circuit breakers actually don't help. They haven't really been used that much, but they're going to be used quite a lot now. Get him rolling. Silver has fallen 75%. 9 years. Why is this a good investment? Well, silver is not really an investment. Silver is money. It's a way to protect yourself outside the monetary system. If you look at the name of, in French, argent, that's money. That means silver. In Spanish, plata, it means money. It's silver. The word dollar is from the taler, which is a silver coin. So yeah, but you look back when I started buying silver, it was about $4 or $5 an ounce, about 15, 16 years ago. So longer term, it does well. Yeah, it hasn't done well lately, but I think it's probably one of the most undervalued assets. You might not agree. Pound dropped. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we're at 122.50 the pound. Yeah, I think we could go to test 120. That's the recent, low in the last few years, 120 after Brexit. And it could go even lower. Swedish wilderness, please answer this. Sorry, I didn't see your question, Swedish wilderness. We got 500 people here and a lot of comments. Can you repeat the question? How long until physical demand breaks the paper price? I think what will happen is that the paper price will have to adjust higher, because if it doesn't, there will be the breakdown of the market. Huge jewelry markup, not surprised. Oh, the other thing I've seen here is like Amazon, for example, are hiring 100,000 warehouse and delivery workers as C disease-driven purchases explode. The other company that's doing well in the UK, and I thought about it actually a few days, and I should have maybe bought some shares in that, is Ocado, OCADO. I've just noticed in the last few days they picked up because they do a lot of deliveries. Swedish wilderness, you want to get rid of the banks, but isn't them who own all the gold? Not all the banks. I don't think having banks is a bad thing. Banks that are like any other business, banks that aren't bailed out by central banks or the taxpayer. And I think if you look at a lot of the gold reserves, they are stored at the central banks, but if you look legally, they're actually owned by the government, by the state, and the state is the taxpayer. So a lot of this gold is owned by the people. Maybe there are central banks who own the gold, but I think if you look carefully, the central banks only hold the gold for the governments. Piers Corbin, I listened to him years ago on the Alex Jones show. I agree with Piers Corbin. Mining stocks, well, I saw the HUI Gold Bugs Index is actually up 8% today. They have been hit in the last few weeks with the sell-off in the common stock market, but they will do well once precious metals pick up again. I think precious metals are going to pick up fairly soon when we hear a lot of intervention, even more intervention from central banks, huge amount of fiscal stimulus. That's going to put a rocket up precious metals. right now, I think it's still going to be a little rocky for precious metals for the next week or so. Yeah, I hadn't seen the volume, Aaron. That's interesting. Alistair McLeod said, I understand that a combination of staffing problems and airline logistics have restricted shipments from major gold and silver refiners. Well, yeah, that's part of the problem as well. It's going to make it even more valuable because you can't get any. So people who want it will have to bid up the price. And it's going to be hard for people who have been stacking to, if they don't have to, they're not going to get rid of it. Not in these conditions. Dennis Michael, answer to your question. It's a possibility. That's all I can say about that. They could have done that to do many things apart from what you're saying there, to reset the financial system as well. Who knows? I don't, it's interesting to speculate about that, but what we're trying to do here is just to try to survive through it and try to maybe even thrive a little bit and protect what we've got. Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. I think, I don't know if any of you have heard of, I'll write it down here. You should check his website out, Dr. Schoon. Just Google that and you'll find his website. He's been writing since before the 08 crisis. He thinks eventually what we're going to get is a time when you're not going to make money either being a bull or a bear. It's going to be a time for survival. He calls it the time of the vulture. I think we're definitely maybe entering. We're definitely entering a time of a vulture where you're just trying to protect the your wealth. You're not trying to get a return on it. And yeah, even a bear is going to have difficult time making money, mostly because of the counterparty risk. It's going to be, you really want to be, try to be outside of the market as much as possible. Yeah, Lena Romero, Trump ready to bail out private industry on our backs. Yeah, I think it's quite outrageous. It's not just Trump, but everywhere around the world. Airlines want to be bailed out. Cruise lines. I don't see why the taxpayers should bail these people out. These executives and corporations who've been abusing the low interest rates and borrowing billions and billions to buy back their stock so they can make huge bonuses. And then when there's a trouble, I know it's a huge crisis, of course, but if a business can't survive a crisis, it's not supposed to be in business. After the crisis, someone else will pick up that business. I'm sure people will still fly and need airlines after the crisis settles down. And if a lot of the airlines are bust, someone will come and pick up and buy that airline. Maybe we could buy an airline. We could start the Monaco 64 Airways with our profits from precious metals. Why should we bail out failed companies? Vbjorn Gritson, do you think Trump will get reelected now? I think it's, not as certain, but who knows? I think, how can I say it? From now until November. So, we're 8 months. It's going to be a long time. It's a lot could change, so it's all up in the air. I'm not saying he can't win, but it's a lot more uncertain. Deposit insurance will not stand up to it all. No, deposit insurance only works when there's a small bank failure and they cover you. But when it's the whole system, yeah, you can bet it's not going to work. Yeah, Ian, Monaco 64 Airlines. You're right, Graham Hobbs, about it. It's going to be more for the wealthy airline traveling. I remember when I was younger, in the 70s, people did use airlines, but not as much as they do now. I mean, in the UK, everyone takes like 3, sometimes 4 holidays a year, and they fly over to Spain or Turkey or Las Vegas for a stag party. I think that's going to end. that's that's not going to be as common. Aaron Levy thinks the election may be postponed. That's right. Pablo Pina, Billy Airways. That's a good one. Fly with a silver lining. I read that in Zero Hedge that Kentucky Fried Chicken has stopped using the how can I say, the finger licking good that they use to promote their chicken. They stopped using that term just because of what's going on. Isabella says in Germany, the automobile industry is shutting down. I called Sharps Pixley today. They didn't have any Britannias. I wanted to buy Britannias. They said they might be getting it later on today or tomorrow. Yeah, I have some cash. I took some cash out a few days ago. The other thing you got to think about, though, yeah, I think it's good to have the cash, but be careful. They might even say they're not taking cash anymore. They just cards. So it's a balancing game. Hestia, yeah, they could start sending money to people or credit entries to people. That will really create a lot of inflation. Of course, that money will lose a lot of value. It will be unearned money. Or like in Japan, they try to do that and people actually save the money. So who knows? Fareed Sak is the 1% trouble. I think so. They've got the most to lose. The 1% or the top 10% own most of the stocks. So they're losing a lot of wealth with this correction, and they could lose even more. For the bottom 90%, yeah, it won't be. It's already been quite tough the last 10, 11 years. It might get a little tougher, but on a relative terms, the 1% are going to get hit really hard. Yeah, that's a record for the VIX. I was reading about that, 82. Jeffrey Robert, what if they call him private gold? They don't have to do that. All they have to, because in 1933, gold was money, and now they can, if they raise the price tomorrow, we wake up and gold is at 20,000. That's going to call in a lot of gold. I might even sell some if it gets to 20,000 tomorrow. That's how they'll do it. So I wouldn't be concerned about confiscation. They'll confiscate through printing by, in trying to lure people to sell their physical. But I would say even if it was at 20,000. If I didn't need to sell my gold, I probably wouldn't do it. What type of economies existed, debt-based or consumption-based? Well, right now, since the 1970s, excuse me, when we went off the gold standard or gold exchange Bretton Woods, it's become much more debt-driven and consumption-driven. The Austrian School of Economics says that every consumer has to be a producer, and we've gone away from that. We've made our economies in the West, especially, dependent on credit and not enough production. Isabella says on Saturday it was not possible to pay with cards, only cash in Austria. Sorry. Engrat is late. It's all right. We're still around. Well, the confiscation in 1933, gold had been at was the 1 ounce of gold was $20.67 and had been that level for decades. I think the U.S. went on the gold standard in 1900. But what happened is the confiscation executive order was, I think, in April or May of 1933, and you handed in your gold, and they gave you $20.67 per ounce. And then on the 1st of January, they declared the Gold Reserve Act that went into effect at $35 an ounce. So overnight, the government made a profit from 2067 to 35. What I've read as well, a lot of the 1% at the time, they were able to ship their gold abroad, probably to places like Switzerland, and they did very well as well. Economically attractive men, how will international commerce work using gold and silver? Well, just like it works with the US dollars. It's just a different kind of money and currency. It worked for thousands of years. We've only been off a gold-backed system since 1971, and up until the late 60s, everywhere in Europe they used silver coins, and in the US. So there's nothing. It's even easier today because you can use electronic transfers. You could, of course, you'd have to have warehouses and banks that you trust. It would be even easier, like the Glint card, for example, that uses gold as well, Glint. And you can even send someone. You will be able to send someone gold, held, of course, in Switzerland through Glint. Yeah, gold and silver. Gold is actually the most liquid asset anywhere. It's more liquid than paper dollars or pounds. Gold is accepted anywhere in the world. Anywhere you go in gold, people will accept that for payment or for their local fiat currency. Economically attractive, and so every time you transact, you verify every piece of gold and silver plus pay transaction costs to transport and insure them. So it's not any different than the fiat money. I don't see your point there. There shouldn't be really any cost of transacting gold. What does it cost me to hold a silver coin? I don't really get your point. Or, what does it cost me to hold a sovereign gold coin that's worth 200 and, 300 pounds nowadays? Gold is not a liquid, it's a metal. I think you're joking there, Evan, there. What I meant is liquid in terms of liquidity, be able to exchange it for anything at any time. That's what liquid means. But I think you were joking. Economic attractive, yeah, it's not any different than fiat money. But the thing with fiat money is that it's forced upon us by legal tender laws. Gold and silver evolved as money through the market. They have intrinsic value. Fiat money always goes to zero. Gold and silver have had purchasing power for thousands of years. That's the difference. So there you go. You can keep economically attractive men. You keep a hold of your fiat money. I'll keep my precious metals. Chewy 13, hi from Chicago. Yeah, Jay Annan, I think you could be right about what you're saying there about the what's happening. I think Dan Hug, he's. I think people are too tight, too. How can I say? Worried about the fiat price of gold. Oh, is gold going to 2,000? It probably will, but you need to look at it in relative basis. Like, for example, gold has dropped. Gold has gone up versus the Dow in the last 2 years. The Dow Gold ratio topped at 22 in 2018 and is now around 13. So think about that as well, not just the fiat price, even though I think we will go above 2,000, but difficult to say when. Arith, I wouldn't be worried about waiting for gold to go down in fiat price. I would just, if you have the opportunity to get some, I would get it. I wouldn't worry about $25 or $50 on the downside. If it's going to go a lot higher, if it's going to go $500 or $1,000 higher. Thank you, Chris. Hi. Silver seems to have lost its safe haven monetary status. Lack of industrial demand, maybe just too much to handle. I don't think so. I think silver will come back with a vengeance. I'm holding on to my silver. I've had it for years. I've been accumulating it since 2003. So I'll just keep it. Hopefully, I'll just be able to pass it on to my daughter and her kids, not have to use it. No, gold is money, economically attractive man. I recommend you actually read What Has Government Done to Our Money by Murray Rothbard. Money did not evolve from banks or financial institutions. Money evolved in the market amongst individuals, exchanging things, bartering. So you don't need an audit. If you know what gold and silver are, and someone offers you a silver coin or a gold coin for payment, you don't have to go to a bank. You don't you need an audit. You know what gold and silver are. Just when you go to the supermarket and you buy a loaf of bread, you know that it's bread, and that's all it is. Yeah, I'll write it down here. Murray Rothbard. I really recommend that book, What Has Government Done to Our Money? And you understand what gold and silver are. They're just monetary commodities. It's like when you buy coffee, when you buy wheat, do you need an audit? No, you smell the coffee, you know it's coffee. It's the same thing with gold and silver. Maybe people aren't as used to knowing what gold and silver are because it's been taken out of the system by force for the last 100 years, but people will quickly get used to it. Pabar, good afternoon, Pabar. He's in Seattle, or she. I'm not sure if you're a he or a she. Jane Reynolds, great thumbs up, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think people. Yeah, the premiums are high, but it's probably, what will happen. The premiums will go down, but the price will go up. So if you buy it now or you buy it later, but you're still going to pay a higher price with less premium. Yeah, the repo market today again. I think the overnight rate actually went up to almost 2.5%, which is like 200 basis points above the Fed funds rate. And the Fed had to do another repo operation in the afternoon. So yeah, things are not good in the repo market. I think we've got some trolls. Let's get rid of them, or maybe my moderators could get rid of them for me. Yeah, so the repo market's still not out of the woods, far from being out of the woods. All that means is that the how can I say, financial institutions on Wall Street, in the city of London, Paris, Frankfurt, all the big financial centers don't trust each other, so they're having to have the central bank help them. That's right, economically attractive man. What government has done is that they've made everyone like kind of dumb about money, and they pick up. I'll give you an example. They pick up. I've got a 20-pound note here. They pick this up, and yeah, it's money, right? But this as well could be counterfeited, right? But you need to look at it. It says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 20 pounds. So even the Bank of England fools us because there's nothing behind this. In the past, if you took that to a bank, they'd give you 20 sovereigns. So what I'm trying to say is that the public has been so dumbed down about money that, yes, it's hard to understand how people could deal with gold and silver coins, but people knew what gold and silver was. Nowadays, of course, it's going to be harder. There's always people out there who try to counterfeit and cheat. But counterfeiting was punishable by death back in the day. So that's how you discourage that. Yeah, Mark Dice, he did some great experiments. Yeah, we've got a few trolls around. Don't know why. Maybe it's the Bank of England and the Fed trying to stop us from talking about real money. Yeah. What else about gold and silver coins? I've read about the history in the States during the colonial times and just after the Revolutionary War. And I think even in the Constitution, it says that you should be able to accept gold and silver coins from, it doesn't matter if they're foreign as long as they're gold and silver. So even then, people were used to taking money from anywhere in the world. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of trolls today. Cam girls. Yeah. Rory. SC, could you see a government closing the stock markets, declaring a bank holiday? Yeah, definitely. That's a big possibility. That's called the ICE 9, shutting everything, they're locking down countries. So why couldn't they lock down financial systems? People need to wake up and realize that it's possible. And I've been talking about that right in the beginning of the crisis. I said eventually that could happen. Yeah, Fed and BOE trolls. That's right. Sex workers getting desperate amid the sea disease. Are you going to buy Bitcoin? I've actually, I think Bitcoin is going to go a lot lower. I do have some Bitcoin, but not that much anymore. Does that mean I'm not going to buy it again? Maybe I will. Mike Hearns, I like how you're so calm during this crazy time. Yeah, I mean, I guess my age, I've seen some crises in the past. I wasn't really in the markets in '87, so I don't really have an experience there. But in 2000, the market dropped a lot, but it picked up again in '08 as well. Even '08, '09, it picked up again. So yeah, it doesn't change the world. It's just the financial system, the money. Illuminati trolls. Dennis the Menace, the problem with the COMEX is that none of the brokers encourage their clients to take delivery. So if a billionaire open an account with a broker and try to take delivery of $5 billion worth of gold, they wouldn't let him. So that's why. It's a rigged exchange. It's a fraud, the COMEX. Many people call it the Crimex instead of COMEX. IG future says minus 2,000. Yeah, the Dow today dropped 2,300. I'm not sure where we are right now. The Dow future right now is up 148. So Chris, hi. No, don't grow my own food. I don't. My previous house, we had quite a big garden, but we don't have a big garden in this house. But I did stock up on quite a bit of food about 3 weeks ago when people weren't even thinking about this. So we're okay. And I'm also quite close to the countryside. So yeah, a lot of farms around here. How long will the Dow go before settling? Well, I think in the short term we could go a little lower and it could bounce the next few weeks, but I think longer term, we're going to go a lot lower, and it will probably take another year to 18 months. Difficult to say. I think there was one guy, Michael Oliver. He did some really good analysis. He thinks there's good support around 2000 in the S&P. So right now we're at 2,400. So we could, yeah, in terms of the S&P, we could go down quite a bit more before it bottoms. Mario, what do you think will happen on March 26 when the Fed lowers its reserve requirement to 0%? I haven't looked into that. I didn't know they're going to do that. I don't think it will make much difference. I don't think the banks have too many reserves. But if anything, it will just make the system even more leveraged, even more toxic. What is a fair Dow? Well, I think the thing about the Dow is it has periods of overvaluation and then periods of undervaluation. It gets out of whack. We got out of whack on the upside, and it's not going to go to fair value now. It's going to go to really undervalued. And I think that's going to be 1-to-1 with gold. I don't know what price that will be. 1-to-1 with gold means that 1 ounce of gold will be the same as 1 Dow. Nikki Sticks, what are the chances this illness is used totally to crush cash or fast track into play? Yeah, that's a possibility as well. The other thing I think about what's happening, because, after 08, they didn't really fix the system. They put a Band-Aid on the system, and now the wound is really bad. There's too much debt. They got to pull the Band-Aid out. And I think they've decided to do it really quickly. It's going to be really painful, but it's going to be really quick. That's an analogy that Jim Rickards talks about. Well, that's something he talks about in his latest book, and I've done the analogy myself. So that's what we're seeing. This crisis, I think, is trying to, take the Band-Aid really quickly off the wound. And the wound is all the debt-based system. Yeah, and the Band-Aid is the debt that had to be put over the system to save it. But now the system is crumbling, so they need to take the Band-Aid off. It's going to be painful. At least it's going to be quick. They can't, Dave Humphreys. That's why it's not going to work. That's why you need to hold on to your you need to be careful. You need to be try to be outside the paper system and be protected with the precious metals and other things, health wise as well, of course. Now, as well, always your health, not just now. A lot of demand in Portland, Oregon for is that silver? Gold. Gold, okay. Yeah, I noticed that some of the banks were down quite a bit. Even JP Morgan was down about 15, over 15% at one point, Pablo. Yeah, SAC Media did the same as you. I thought silver was insanely cheap. Aaron Levy, I hope the BOE and the Fed are actually watching, can watch people get educated about their rotten system. What YouTube channels am I watching? I watch Greg Manarino once in a while, ITM, Lynette Zhang. I like Amazing Polly. Who else? Let me have a look. Tucker Budson. That's about a dog. That's a joke, but I do like watching him. Sean Atwood. I think he's pretty good. I like watching some travel channels like Harold Baldar. He's a Norwegian guy who travels abroad. Bald and Bankrupt. He's an English guy who travels abroad. So I like watching that kind of stuff as well. More seriously, of course, yeah, Greg Manarino, Sean Atwood, Rethinking the Dollar. I like Rethinking the Dollar. Mike Manuel and Silver Doctors. Who else? Let's see if I've got any more. That's about it. I mean, for now, I can't think of other ones. My wife likes watching Gerald Celente. I watch him sometimes with her. Butchie Harding says Greg Manarino is a Freemason. Freemason, yeah, he might be, but I will listen to people if they talk about things that make sense. I won't judge them for what they're doing. And I don't watch George Gammon. I think my wife sometimes watches him. I don't watch George Gammon. Bald and Bankrupt is really good. Yeah, I think so too. Macro Voices, I've listened to them before, but not that much anymore. Oh, I forgot Greg Hunter. I like Greg Hunter. He does good interviews. I watch him. I'm in the UK. Lee Miller in London. Yeah, the petrodollar. I think the lower the oil price goes, the worse it is for the petrodollar because there's a less petrodollar reserves to be. How can I say put back in the system by the OPEC countries. Mike Maloney, I've listened to him many years ago. I watch him sometimes. Oh yeah, I've been watching as well. Not so much in the last week or so. Peak Prosperity, Chris Martenson. He's been talking a lot about the crisis. Winston Churchill was a globalist. Globalist, you mean? Yeah. Don't really have much opinion on that. I mean, that's a subject for another kind of video. It's a long subject. It's not as, I guess, black and white. Yeah, that's right, Damon. A lot of the banks, they've made a lot huge loans to these oil companies, to the energy sector. Yeah, I mean, Jim says Winston Churchill. I mean, you shouldn't use that kind of language. I agree with the second part of your comment. During wars, everyone commits crimes, all sides. Yeah, so we don't have to use the F word. We don't use that kind of words here. I'm going to have to delete that because I don't want to get, yeah, that's how people get banned off YouTube, by using swear words. You didn't have to use that. You could have just said what you wanted in a polite fashion. I agree with you. I mean, all sides committed war crimes. It's not just one side. And always the victor writes the history, right? I have a really good book here about World War II, like in the UK. I think it's called The Silent War. I would check that book out, Silent War. It's on my shelf. It's by, I think it's the only MP in the UK who was put in prison during World War II. I think it's The Silent War. Is it The Silent War? I forgot. Let's see. So yeah, Churchill put him in prison. I'm not sure if it's The Silent War. I forgot the name. Damon Wright, 1 to 10, how bad will this crash be? I think it will be right up there with the 1929 crash, if not worse. Dave Humphreys, Jim Rickards, I think he's looking more at the SDR. I didn't want to say this, but yeah, I don't know. SDR, Jim Rickards is CIA. Well, he talks about in his books how he has worked for the CIA, but and he probably still does. But he everything he says in his books makes sense. I don't think he's. I think he's. I don't think he's. I have a problem with. I've got quite a few of his books, and everything he's written is kind of happening. So is he really CIA, or he's just worked for them? He used to work on Wall Street, of course. He's advised them. SDR, that's just special drawing rights. It's IMF money. It's just fiat money from the IMF. Hopefully that won't happen because it's not going to make any difference. So this has been a long live stream. I'll take a few more questions and then I'll call it a day. Yeah, Jane Reynolds, she summarized it well. SDR is a basket of fiat rubbish. That's right. Joachim Eck, the HUY was up 7% today, so it looks like it has started rising. That's right, Jordan K. It has to be, or it has to be just a currency, has to be something real. Maybe we should start using promises or debt as money. Churchill was a monarchist. Well, of course he would be. He was the prime minister for the Queen. Every prime minister is a monarchist by, you know, because you have to be appointed by the Queen or the King. Mario, is gold still open for business? What do you mean by gold? Do you mean, is the gold market open? I think it's just reopened. Yeah, where the future is trading. It's the future though. On COMEX, it's at 1510. Oh, you're welcome, Kristen. Oh, the golf course. It is open, but I played yesterday. But I think just going to play is okay, but to go in the clubhouse, maybe not so. I don't live very far from the club, so it's quite easy for me to get there. If currency fails, what would replace? Toilet paper? No, seriously, whatever people are comfortable with, that it will be the most marketable commodity. It will be the commodity that everyone wants to exchange for anything. That's what money will be. And I'll let you do your homework on that. Okay, great. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and thank you for showing up. Take care. Bye.